we'll be starting with the next session. Next session is of Mr. Sumit Mishra ji. He is the Senior Vice President of RS Software. The profile is already displayed in the screen. You can always have a look. He has a PhD with 30 plus years in IT sourcing, managing large projects and advising payment firms on technical strategies to build customer-focused competencies. He was a key member in building the world's largest payment data warehouse and architected India's payment bank stack comprising of like Unified Payment Interface, UPI, and EFRM and BBPS. So with these words, I'd like to call on dais Mr. Sumit Mishra. Sir, please come out on the dais. And I'd request C.A. Suman Chaudhary to kindly felicitate sir with a flower book, with a Uttaryo and a memento. Sir. So I request Sumit sir to kindly proceed with the session.
And thank you ICAI for inviting me to this session. I come from a little different background, but I think it is pertinent in this age because digital payments is something that is driving the economy in every sphere of life. Coming from the background of technology, from a company that has built the UPI and the fraud and risk management system and the Bharat Bill Pay system. Before that, we did 20 years of work for the largest card systems in the world. So with that, I'm trying to put a perspective. So as you can see, all the other presentations were largely based on the background of white. I have moved to black because whatever we saw right now were how we can use AI for the positive effects that has been there in this computation of accounting purposes. But what I'm going to share is something little bit scary. It is AI is being used by, as we have seen in the last, all the sessions, that AI is heavily being used by in the accounting purposes, charter accountancy and other purposes. But if you see the last session that we have, there's something called registration. That means the companies are registered with certain bodies in order to make some transactions and all of that. Now, what I'm going to say here is a little scary because it is going to impact what is it that we are getting the data from. So, as you can see, fraudsters are heavily using AI in creating nuisance, and they are not bound by any of the legal factors that bind us in using of AI. It is not ethical. There is, if there is error, they are not fined. They are just using AI at scale, and that is extremely scary. As you can see, the AI-powered fraud attempts, this is a report from 2024 and 2025, it is between 42 and 50%. So half of all this registration, etc., that we are seeing is fraudulent, but being furnished by AI. So there is a concept of account takeover. That means your account, your user ID, password, or something has been already compromised there. Most of the data is in the dark web, and these fraudsters have been using it quite freely. And your account, people have been taking up their accounts, so they don't know that they're already hacked. And they are using that information to make wrong money movements. So that is account takeover. Almost 60% is being powered by AI. Account opening. That means somebody is opening an account in a bank or opening an account even in platforms. For example, there are platforms to transfer money cross-border and all of this. So 58% of that is AI powered. The frauds are AI powered. And the KYC bypass 54%. So, and very recently this report has come up that, and this even in our company there was a attack on this, the generative AI email fraud losses projected to reach 11.5 billion by 2027. So this is the scale of AI usage in a wrong purpose. So now if we look at any digital payment platform and all the transaction happening, and this is what we track, we try to figure out and everything, there are basically 3 phases. One is onboarding. When you onboard into the system, it can be a merchant onboarded into a bank or a customer onboarded to a bank or anything like that. And then there's a second phase is transact. That means you are moving money across the board, whoever is connected into that platform. And then there's off-board. That means you move out of the platform. So if you look at the risk profiles, 78% of the risk is identity fraud, and that is used in onboarding. That is huge. That means fraudsters implant themselves on those platforms. And it is very difficult to track them once they're implemented, onboarded. Second is transact. So that means in transact there are 2 phases. One is authorize. That means some systems authorize that you can use this system, and then there is settlement. That means the money movement is happening. So transactions have these 2 phases within it. If you have, there are systems like checks. So you have to authorize and then settle, but you can do a stop check to stop it. But for UPI, you don't have that chance. If you have authorized, the payment is gone. RTGS, if you have authorized, it is gone. Retracing back is a very expensive, a very complicated experience. So, in the transact phase, there is account takeover, and we have seen 13% increase between 2023 and 2025. So, basically, they have implanted themselves and they are doing some AI-based access to the systems, because the passwords which were earlier being whatever password we give, and if somebody can get hold of our profile, because we leave the Aadhaar cards, Xerox copies here, the PAN cards here, the mobile numbers there, and all this can be collated, and almost by your child's date of birth or your marriage year or something, they can figure out what is your password. Because most of the passwords we give in that format. And they can figure out and they can take over the account and do the transaction. So, this is the transact phase. But you can see 2 yellow lines which is coming in and going out. That is where we can do some tricks. That means we can have the vigilance. We'll talk about it. And during offboarding, they finally cash out, take data in as information from that place, and they vanish. So once they are out of the system, you are impossible to catch them anyway. So basically what we are trying to say is, in any digital platform, this is the pattern, and we are now connected to digital platform, more number of platforms that you can count with your fingers. It can be WhatsApp, it can be your bank accounts, it can be Google Pay, it can be Facebook, it can be, there are n number of platforms where you are connected. You even don't remember where you are connected. There could be platforms from where you are getting information. That means professional information. I am connected to something called payments.com. You may be connected to something that gives you information on the charter accountant, information literature, and across the world. So those practices, you are registered there. You may have already forgotten, but that data is still lying there, and that can be extracted. Next is deep fake. Now, there are many grades of AI being used for wrong purposes. Deep fake is considered the most lethal weapon available for us to protect, available to the fraudster to do something bad. So deep fake usage have increased by 11 times, and and to replicate documents, they have been using 3 times, 300% increase. So a document that you get which looks very correct, for you to register a person onto a platform can be fake, and you have very little way of verifying that unless you do something. And this is a 2025 Q1 report from Subsum. Now, it is not that this is only happening in our place. It is happening worldwide. It is in Canada, you can see 34 times, Hong Kong 19 times. I will not read the list, but the lowest one, if you see, the United States is 7 times. These are in times, they are not in bips and not in small percentages. There are so many times that increasing. So onboarding is almost, it's very difficult area right now. And if you see that we got an opportunity for doing eKYC using distant mechanism. That means with your phone you can do, you have to do two blinks and all that. It becomes easier to onboard. But the problem is, if you are doing easier to onboard, and now you have a deep fake solution for that. For example, blinking is being simulated right now as we are speaking. So blink, moving head, following some eye pattern on the screen, voice, all are getting replicated. All the machines are replicating that. So where is the sanctity that your identity won't get stolen? So this is a very serious problem that we are trying to deal with. And obviously, while we are doing all of these, it is not that only the bad ones are getting away. So bad ones, for example, right now, in this 1 hour or so, there will be more than 3 million attacks on UPI in this phase of time. And there will be more than 700 crores of rupees at risk as we speak. But obviously that is not happening every day, and neither it is happening anytime soon or anytime later. So we are doing, as a technologist, we are doing something right to protect this fantastic onslaught from the fraudsters. So this is where I will try to highlight some of the things that are being done in order to protect from these very smart fraudsters. Okay, so for the identity fraud, if you look at the identity fraud, they can give a wrong document. They can give static information that is wrong. It is very difficult to give a dynamic information that is wrong. So by saying this, what I am trying to mean is that if I ask you what is the last time you made a purchase with your UPI, you will say, yesterday I think I paid for the Blinkit. Faking that is very difficult. But saying that your average balance in a bank is, say, 50,000 rupees, that is a static information. So what fraudsters are afraid of is when you start using dynamic information in order to verify identity or anything that you are trying to do. And verifying dynamic information or capturing them, you have to use machines, because a copy of your PAN card is extremely static. That is not going to give you anything. But the amount that you have filed is an ITR in the last year, and the advance tax that you have given in the last, say, quarter, this is dynamic. That is not static. So people trying to assess from that dynamic behavior it is much more safer, and this fraudster has very difficult in trying to replicate. So now let us see for this purposes what has been done. Very recently, we see that Telecom Department of Telecom Division of India has come up with something called Fraud Risk Indicator, FRI. Because whenever you give your phone number in order to, whenever you're registering, be it Vahan or your anything that you are doing with the mobile app, your phone number is going to be the main thing that is coming into play. Now, that phone number, how good is that phone number? Has that phone number been hacked earlier? Is it in a risk list? It is, who is going to know about that? The telecom department is the best guy to know about that. So they have come with something called fraud and risk indicator. So the quality of the SIM, whether you have a new device, whether the new mobile, you have purchased a new mobile number and inserted that SIM there, all this information is with our telecom department. And they have come out with an API to share that. Now that is a dynamic information that is being shared by a national platform so that you can use that to see whether this is in the risky zone. I'm just giving few examples. Post office. Unfortunately, here we don't have an address verification using post office, but there are in other places ability to track that you have, whenever you move, you have to change your postal address and you have to notify the nearest post office where you are registered with. We have that provision, but nobody uses it. But that can give you a huge impact saying that this guy has moved. So basically, if you see again a dynamic information which cannot be shared by anybody other than the authority which is maintaining that data. So post office, bank can say it's a new account. Government ID, that means this is where the deep fake is most risky. That is, this face is in a suspect list or this fingerprint is in a suspect list. Now this is where government have the ability to provide you the data. And similarly, crime branches, some bank account is suspended, or a credit check guys will tell you whether this EMI is a EMI defaulter. So depending on the signals which are near real time and are dynamic, improves the protection of the people. So now we have to see how this can be arranged. All of this information comes at a very different frequency. So you don't change home as fast as you change your mobile phone number. So there are frequencies of change which is different. How to deal with these differences and how to track that is something that is of importance. Now let us look at the approach. Now this is where, because for example, you're trying to match a face from a large set of suspected stock data. How will you do that? Because face recognition, face extraction is extremely difficult. So they use something called fast detection. That means there are algorithms which quickly say that this 15 faces looks like this guy. Then there's a candidate match. You have to reduce from that 15 sets, say, to about 6 sets. And then you want to exactly point out to the single set. Now this quick reduction in the number is handled by deep, I would say, deep AI or deep learning algorithms, which they're noted here, but that is not very important to know. But there are algorithms which are doing this. Similarly, for the fingerprint, there's a traditional way of doing it. So in the upper one, we are doing it in series. In the lower one, we are doing it parallel. We use the traditional ones, we use the deep learning ones, and we use the military grade ones, the ones that is, and then from this 3 pathways, we try to figure out if that person is, this fingerprint matches with something who is not. Then comes the address. Now we all know the address has a huge number of variations. Somebody will give road as RD, street at ST, and somebody will write the full name. And then there is, most of it is our vernacular names. The names in Calcutta will be different from the names in Delhi and names in Chennai. And because they are vernacular, the spellings are not, English spellings are not perfect. So that can change. So it is not unequivocal. It can change. So how do you match two similar strings which are by sound they are similar but not by exact letters? So you have to see all those information has to be taken in order to come out with the which one is the right and which one is the wrong. Right? So this is an interesting approach that is being taken, and this is protecting you from all this whatever is problems that you're having. But as I was showing you that circle had an arrow in the down and the upside and downside arrow, is it when you are transacting? So when you are transacting, that is the most dynamic point where you are interacting with the system. And that is where we can have safeguards which are very personalized. And that is called behavioral biometrics. You'll be amazed to know that there are so many startups, both in India and abroad. They are getting out there with their own softwares and own solutions which track the biometrics extremely well. Now, what is biometrics? So, for example, the device that you have, which angle you hold the device or the phone when you are talking, what is the operating system there, what is the screen length, all of these, if I can put together into a digest, then you can have something called device fingerprinting. That means next time when you are using that device for something, I will know that this is the same device being used using that digest. So I can bind that information with the device. Now when I see that this device, with this device, a UPI transactions of the order of less than 100 is used for during the lunch time, and suddenly I see it is being used for 2,000, 5,000, 6,000 rupees during the lunch time, I should be able to say that this dynamic behaviors do not match. They're absolutely different. I even don't know that person, but from this device, I can say that these two are two different ways of doing it. So, without going into all these details, what happens is whenever you're using the device or the phone number or your Aadhaar number or whatever your identity, you are actually creating profiles. Profiles means where you are actually capturing the various dynamic things that you do. You don't have to know it, but the system will capture and maintain that list. And the next time when you are trying to do that, they will try to see whether it matches with the profile. It can match the profile of the payer, that means you who is paying. It can match the profile of the payee, that means the merchant to whom you are paying to. So to a street vendor who is an MSME, you will not be, typical spend will be much in the range, maximum in the range of 500. But if that person is starting getting 1,000 and 2,000 rupees of transaction, that shows that is something wrong. And that dynamic behavior is already profiled. So it will not be, it will get stopped. And this is the way we are protecting all your transactions that is happening, at least in India. So if you look at the profiles here, so if you look at payer, they are multi-dimension. That means day of the week, time of the day, merchant category, merchant location, whether it's a festive season, the weather, all of these contribute to building a profile. This profile is dynamically adjusted as you transact. On the other side, the merchant side, which is the payee side, they are high frequency. There's number of transactions very high. That again changes the number, the brand reputation, time of the day of the week, average ticket size, and then there are other information like whether it's a festive season, is other things. So we create those profiles. And when another transaction happens, we try to match with that profile of the payer and the payee and say, this looks a good transaction or not a good transaction. Fraudster, if they hack within your account and they do an account takeover, they will not try to, they will first of all not know your profile. And next bad thing is they will try to move large amount of money, because there is no use spending 500 rupees after they have hacked into your profile. So that is the way the systems know it and the systems stop it from happening. So this is heavily used AI and machine learning that has been used along with the rules. And we will talk about that, why you need that information. Right. So, how do you build those guards? There are two types of guard. One is rule. That means human intelligence, human experience converted into rules is what we can know. That if you are a person 60 in the range of 70 years of age, and it is 2:30 in the night, and you are spending good amount 5,000 rupees at a night bar, it is not possible. It is most likely it's a fraud. So with that profile, I can create rules which will stop you. But the problem is the rules are static. That means I can explain. When somebody charges me saying that, why did you stop my transaction? I can explain that this is the reason I stopped it. It is dead of the night. You are in the 70s. Probably this is not where you are using the card. You can do that. It's not impossible. But we have protected you, or I'll give you a call and say, are you spending 10,000 rupees in a night bar? So you can say yes, no, and then we can pass it. So there is a way to stop, even execute that. But the cons is that this is difficult to maintain. That means because it is a static, every rule has to be maintained, tweaked. So how do you do the maintenance? You have to run systems which will say how much is the effectiveness of the rules, how much fraud they have captured, whatever. And you can see actually the rules becoming old. If it is something very static, it will remain. If it is gradually decreasing, that means the rules are getting old, means you have to replace the rules. So what has come? The deep learning models have come, the AI models have come. Now AI they learn from the data. That means if say UPI got launched on April 2016, by May 2016, nothing has happened to show you that what is the fraud pattern that will come, because the fraudsters have not kicked in. So if you had rules, that has protected, but you don't have enough data to use to train your models, which is AI models, to help you protect them. It is not available. So anything that has been newly launched, or that data is not there, it is difficult to build the AI models from that. It is still possible, but it is difficult to build. So you have to use rules when you are starting fresh. But when you use model, it is dynamic, that's fine. The problem is, like in any accounting practices, you will ask and say, why did you stop this transaction? And in most of the cases, when you are using deep learning models or deep AIs, you will not be able to explain, because there is a black box, something happened inside and said the score is 95 and you cannot pass this transaction. That's it. It cannot say why it has done that easily. The way in the rule you can do that. So we are using something called a hybrid system, where the rules are created by humans, but the values that greater than 1000, greater than 1200, or greater than 500, that thresholds are managed by AI. So it remains effective because we are changing with the data. It remains explainable because that is created by the risk analysts who have been there for ages protecting your system. And so most of the transactions that has been stopped can be explained. But you are using the data to tweak the thresholds and get the best of both worlds. So AI with human in the loop is the right way as of now. However, there are algorithms that have come up which can help you say that which is the reason for the largest influence on your decision. So it is a way of opening the black box of your models. So there are algorithms that are coming up, and hopefully once this gets well matured, then you can use it completely AI driven. But it is still a little away. It's a sharp algorithm. Now the problem starts once the money is being transacted. When the money is transacted, it is moving from one account to another. Now, next problem is money laundering, whether the money moving is the right direction or not, or if right person is getting the money. That's the next problem that to attack. And if we know that all these banks, they have to submit something called STR report, suspicious transaction report, and there's another type of report to the FIUs, the financial units of the countries. And they submit it once a month. But you can see with the things like UPI and others coming in, fraudster will register today. They will transfer, they will create something called donation fund for 100 rupees for helping out something, some flood hit area or some fire area or something. They will collect crores of rupees within 7 days and they will vanish. They will move out the money and vanish. STR report comes once a month. You cannot. So the money laundering frequency that was earlier used, which is generally was once a month vigilance, now has to fall down into almost a real time. Now, how do you do that? So in order to do that, you have to create systems which can detect accounts where you see wrong type of money movement happening. Now the problem here is that banks within their own confines, they have system for AML, but they do not have system across banks. That is only the FIUs have, or means in our case RBIs have. So and this is a problem not here also, it's worldwide problem that is happening. So if they figure out, we have to figure out that the money movement is happening across bank accounts, it has to be a central authority, and we want to do that almost in real time. Now that is where it becomes extremely difficult unless you have some solutions there. And very recently we know that RBI has come up with Mule Hunter AI, which is a platform to exactly do this. It looks at accounts across banks to try to find out sudden influx of funds, rapid movement of money, volume or value based movement which looks wrong, layering using smurfing and multi-currency, and then round number, 10 transaction in, 10 transaction out. That is a very, very unusual pattern. And then multiple money coming to an account and only one is going out. And all these unusual pattern, they are using 19 money laundering pattern in the Mule Hunter AI right now. And that is done using graph analytics AI, which is stopping and helping them to protect all these things. So basically, why I sped through, because the time is limited. I know that it is going towards the end of the entire session. But I wanted to highlight all of these and would like to put this as a takeaways that fraudsters are perfecting their act in leveraging the AI. Enterprise need to gear up. The impact of fraud is maximum on onboarding and transaction. Addressing AI-based guard against AI-led fraud is necessary. Using AI to protect during transacting is better, and it's a mature strategy than to try to do it earlier or later. Explainability of a reason why you are stopping a transaction is improving, but even if it is not so much improved, we should still use AI to stop things that's from happening. Using AI to detect mule account and money laundering will disincentivize financial crimes, because if you do not allow them to move money, just get the money, that is not something they want to do. So that is the way you can stop this. And finally, as I'm coming from RS Software, which has built all these platforms, we have a product called RS IntelliEdge, which is right now protecting all the transactions of India, digital payments of India, covering UPI, AEPS, IMPS, RuPay, FASTag, BBPS, and little more. 20 billion transaction a month on an average with a latency of 100 milliseconds. We are protecting using both the rules and the AI models. And it also carries something called a graph-based analytics, which is stopping the mule accounts and the laundering activities. With that, I conclude my session. If there's any question, I'm ready to take. No questions? Thank you. Thank you very much.